Hello students, today we will discuss about acids and their properties. If we talk about the origin of term acid, then in starting all the substances were classified in two categories according to their taste. So these substances were classified in two categories, and in the first category those substances were kept which were sour in taste, while in the second category the substances which were bitter in taste were kept. Since in Latin language we use the word acidus for the term sour, so these substances which were sour in taste were classified or were named as acids. But later on, with the discovery of some corrosive acids like HNO3, H2SO4 and hydrochloric acid, that is HCl, this definition was not found sufficient. So different scientists in different times they have tried to define these acids according to the conditions. For example, if we talk about the initial efforts of the scientists, so the very initial effort was done by Lavoisier. Lavoisier defined acids in the year of 1783, and he defined acids as the oxy compounds of nonmetals. For example, according to Lavoisier, H2CO3, that is a carbonic acid, that is the formula for carbonic acid, will work as acid because this one is the oxy compound of non-metal carbon. For the another example, if we take nitric acid HNO3, so this can also be termed as acid according to Lavoisier because this one is the oxy compound of non-metal nitrogen. And the another example that we can take according to Lavoisier are H2SO4, sulfuric acid commonly known as oil of vitriol, or acetic acid can also be defined as acid according to the definition of Lavoisier. But later on, when the discovery of muriatic acid was occurred, which is known as hydrochloric acid also, since it's not the oxy compound of non-metal chlorine, so according to Lavoisier, it should not work like an acid, but we all know that this one is the example of strong acid, so Lavoisier cannot explain the behavior of hydrochloric acid, hydroiodic acid or hydrogen bromide acid. Then this can be termed as the failure of Lavoisier definition, and as was not able to explain the behavior of these hydro acids, so the latter definition was given by Liebig. Liebig defined acids in the year of 1830, and he defined acids as those compounds which contains one or more replaceable hydrogen atom, and these replaceable hydrogen atom are replaced from the compound when we react them by a metal or a positive radical. So we can define the acid as compounds. For example, according to the definition of Liebig, we can find the acidic behavior of HCl, because when this HCl is reacted with a metallic sodium hydroxide, then these sodium ions will replace the hydronium ion from the HCl, and since this HCl contains the replaceable hydrogen atom and converts into the formation of salt and water, so according to this reaction, this hydrochloric acid can be termed as acid. On the other hand, if I react this HCl from a positive radical containing compound such as ammonium chloride, this hydrogen atom will again replace by ammonium radical, forming a salt ammonium chloride and water, and since this hydrochloric acid contain a replaceable hydrogen atom, so this HCl can be termed as acid according to the definition of Liebig. Now, but this definition was not sufficient to describe all the acidic behavior of all the compound. For example, if we are to describe the acidic behavior of non-protic compound such as carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide or AlCl3, then this definition cannot explain their acidic behavior. Since these compounds does not contain hydrogen atoms in them, so this definition is not suitable to define their acidic behavior. And since this definition was not enough sufficient to describe the acidic behavior of all the known compound, so later on the big effort was done by Arrhenius. And in this part we will deeply discuss the acidic behavior of compounds according to the definition given by Arrhenius. As I have said earlier, then the different definitions provided by scientists, it was according to the condition All the scientists has tried to describe the acidic behavior of all known compound, but later on there was some failure according to their definition. Same as this Arrhenius definition is not enough sufficient to describe the acidic behavior of all known compound. Later on we are having the different definitions to define the acidic behavior, but here we will deeply discuss the behavior according to Arrhenius. And according to Arrhenius, acids are those substances which releases H plus ion in their aqueous solution. If a substance is dissolved in water, like for example if we take hydrochloric acid, so on dissolving in it water, it ionizes producing H3 hydronium ion and one chloride radical. Since this HCl is producing hydronium ion in its aqueous solution, so this HCl can be taken as the example of acid. On the other hand, if we take sulfuric acid for the example, so when it is dissolved in water, it again ionizes to produce 2 hydronium ion and 1 sulfate ion. Since it's producing hydronium ion in its aqueous solution, so this sulfuric acid can also be taken as the example of acids. Now we will classify the acids according to Arrhenius, and the classification of acid is. Now, if we see the classifications of acids can be classified on different bases, and the first classification what we are going to see, it's on the basis of bonding. On the basis of bonding, acid can be classified in 2 categories. The very first category is known as oxyacids, and the second category is known as hydroacids, or this one can also be known as hydroacids. Oxyacids are those acids in which hydrogen is connected to oxygen atom of the acid. For example, if we take HClO4, so here the replaceable hydrogen atom is not connected with chlorine atom. If it is connected with oxygen atom, so this can be taken as the example of oxyacid. On the other hand, if we talk about sulfuric acid, so in sulfuric acid the replaceable hydrogen atom is connected with oxygen atom, and since it is connected with oxygen atom, so this one will be the example of oxyacid. We are also having the another examples for oxyacid, that is nitric acid or carbonic acid H2CO3. On the other hand, if the replaceable hydrogen atom of the acid is directly attached to the central atom, then these acids which do not contain oxygen atom in their molecular formula are known as hydroacids. For example, if we talk about hydrochloric acid, here the replaceable hydrogen atom is directly linked with the non-metal chlorine, and these acid molecule will be termed as hydroacids. All the hydrogen halide acids like hydroiodic acid, HBr or HI are termed as hydroacids since the replaceable hydrogen atom is connected with non-metal and not with oxygen. The second classification is on the basis of source. On the basis of source, again we can categorize the acid in 2 categories, and the very first category is known as organic acid. Here the first category is known as organic acid, while the second category is known as inorganic acid or mineral acid. As the name is indicating, if the source of acid is any organic material, such as if we get the acid from any plant or from any animal, then these acids which have the organic source are known as organic acid. Generally, we can identify these organic acid with their molecular formula because these organic acid contains carbon atom in them. On the other hand, inorganic acids are those acids which have the source from the rocks or minerals. If the acids are get from minerals or rocks, then these acids which have no any organic source are known as inorganic acids. Since these acids we get from minerals also, so these acids are also known as mineral acids. And again we can identify them by their molecular formula because these inorganic acid does not contain carbon atom in them. Some are exceptions to this, such as carbonic acid H2CO3. It contains carbon atom in them, but since it has a organic origin, this thing we get from a plant or animal, so this cannot be termed as organic acid. On the basis of source, it's a part of inorganic acid. Now we will discuss some examples of organic acid, that what are the different source for these organic acid. The very first example that we are going to deal in organic acid is citric acid. Citric acid is generally present in citrus fruits. Like lemons and orange contain this citric acid. The next example for organic acid is malic acid. The natural source of malic acid is plant. It is found in apples. Tartaric acid. It's also the example of organic acid because this tartaric acid is naturally found in grapes and tamarind. The next common example for the organic acid is lactic acid, which is also known as milk acid because it is found in sour milk or curd. If we talk about those acids which we get from animals or which have the natural origin in animals, so the very first example in this category is formic acid. Naturally, this formic acid is present or is contained by the stings of ants and bees. On the other hand, if we talk about the examples for inorganic acid, so the very first example what we have discussed is carbonic acid. It's exceptional for this because it contains carbon atom, but it is not the example of organic acid since the classification is based on the source. The another examples for inorganic or mineral acids are sulfuric acid, commonly known as oil of vitriol, citric acid HNO3 or hydrochloric acid HCl. These all are not having the organic origin, so these can be classified as inorganic acid. This third classification is based on the basicity of acid. Before we define the acid on the basis of basicity, first we are to understand that what does we mean by the term basicity. Basically, basicity is defined as the number of hydronium ion released by one molecule of an acid in its aqueous solution. For example, if we dissolve hydrochloric acid in water, so it replaces one hydronium ion in its aqueous solution. It ionizes to produce hydronium ion and chloride ion. Since it's producing one hydronium ion in its aqueous solution, so here the basicity of hydrochloric acid is 1. On the other hand, if we take sulfuric acid, so it provided 2 hydronium ion in its aqueous solution, and on the basis of number of hydronium ion released in its aqueous solution, the basicity for this one will be 2. If we take nitric acid for the example, so it releases the hydronium ion in its aqueous solution, and here the basicity will be 1. Here the basicity is equals to the number of hydrogen atom present in the compound, but sometimes it different from the number of hydrogen atom. For example, if we take acetic acid CH3COOH, so here the total number of 4 hydrogen atoms are present in the compound, but it replaces only one hydronium ion in its aqueous solution and ionizes to produce acetate ion CH3COO1- and one hydronium ion, that is H3O+. Since it's producing one hydronium ion in its aqueous solution, so basicity will be 1 and not 4, which are total number of hydrogen atoms present in the compound. On the other hand, if we take carbonic acid H2CO3, it releases 2 hydronium ion, basicity will be 2. Same for the phosphoric acid. If we take phosphoric acid as the example, that is H3PO4, it releases 3 hydronium ion and the basicity will be 3. But another example of phosphorus acid which have the equal number of hydrogen atom and has the formula H3PO3, it has 3 hydrogen atoms in the compound, but it replaces only 2 and has the basicity 2. Another acid of phosphorus, that's known as hypophosphorus acid, that is represented by the formula H3PO2. It has the same number of hydrogen atom as per the initial phosphorus acid, but it replaces only one hydronium ion in its aqueous solution, and here the basicity is 1. So since we are having the different value of basicity for the acids, it's 1, 2 and 3 also. So on the basis of this value of basicity, now we will classify the acid in different categories. The very first category is monobasic acid. Now here one thing is important, that this basicity can also be termed as protosity. Since it's decided by the protons released by an acid, so this basicity is also known as protosity, and these monobasic acids can also be termed as monoprotic acid. As the name is indicating, mono word is for one and basic word is indicating the basicity of acid. So in the monobasic acid, we will deal with those acids which have the basicity 1. For example, hydrochloric acid, hydrobromic acid, that is hypophosphorus acid H3PO2, acetic acid CH3COOH. They are all the example of monobasic acid, and one very common example for this one is boric acid H3BO3. It has 3 hydrogen atom in the molecular formula, but it doesn't give any hydrogen atom when dissolved in water. Instead of releasing hydrogen atom from the compound, it gains hydroxide ion of water. And finally, the reaction occurs like this. When it is dissolved in water, it gains the hydroxide ion of the water, releasing the H plus left in the aqueous solution. This hydroxide ion is taken by water, and since the hydroxide ion when released from the molecule of water, the left part is H plus cation, and every H3BO3 molecule is responsible for one H plus cation producing in its aqueous solution, and its basicity is also counted as 1. The next category in this classification is dibasic acid. Dibasic acids are those acids which have the value of basicity 2. For example, carbonic acid H2CO3, sulfuric acid H2SO4, or phosphorus acid H3PO2, or oxalic acid. They are the example of dibasic acid. This oxalic acid is an organic acid which is generally found in tomatoes, and it has 2 replaceable hydrogen atom, and this one can be taken as the example of dibasic acid. The third category for this classification is tribasic acid. Again, the name is indicating tri refers to 3 and basic for basicity. So here the basicity will be 3. For example, we are having citric acid. Citric acid has 3 replaceable hydrogen atom in the compound and the basicity will be 3. The another example that we have seen earlier, that is phosphoric acid H3PO4. H3PO4 has 3 replaceable hydrogen atoms, so here the basicity will be 3. The last category in this series is tetrabasic acid. As compared to monobasic and dibasic acid, we are having comparatively less examples for tetrabasic acid, and the very common example for this tetrabasic acid is silicic acid, which is commonly written as SiOH4, or it can be written as H4SiO4. It has all the 4 replaceable hydrogen atoms, and since the basicity is 4 for this, so this can be taken as the example of tetrabasic acid. The another example for tetrabasic acid is orthocarbonic acid, which is written as H4CO4. It has 4 replaceable hydrogen atom, but this compound does not exist freely. As it is formed, it further decomposes to form hydrated carbonic acid H2CO3.H2O, and here the carbonic acid will show only 2 replaceable hydrogen atom. So this can be taken as the example of tetrabasic acid, but this one has very less lifetime. So the main example for the tetrabasic acid is silicic acid SiOH4. So now we will see the next category for this classification. The fourth classification of acid is on the basis of strength. On the basis of strength, acid can be classified in 2 parts. The very first category is known as strong acid, and the second category for this is known as weak acid. The basis of classification is percentage of ionization. If an acid molecule goes for complete ionization in its aqueous solution, then this one will be example of strong acid. On the other hand, if an acid molecule shows incomplete ionization in its aqueous solution, then these acid molecules are known as weak acids. For example, if we can understand this by a simple activity. If I take a container filled with water and add 100 molecules of sulfuric acid to this. Now these 100 molecules of sulfuric acid will completely ionize to produce hydronium ion and sulfate ion. And since all the molecules are going to be ionized, so this can be taken as the example of strong acid. On the other hand, if I take the same container and fill this with same amount of water, and now in place of sulfuric acid, if I had 100 molecules of acetic acid, that is CH3COOH, then we will find that out of these 100 molecules, only 10 to 20 molecules will ionize and produce hydronium ion. And since the percentage of ionization is very less, so this acetic acid can be taken as the example of weak acid. Now, except this sulfuric acid and acetic acid, we are having a lot of examples for the strong acid and weak acid. And the other examples for strong acid is nitric acid, HNO3, hydrochloric acid, HCl, or picric acid. This picric acid is generally used as the explosive or for the formation of explosive like trinitrotoluene, and this can be taken as the example of strong acid. On the other hand, generally the organic acids that we have studied earlier are the examples of weak acid, such as acetic acid, citric acid, oxalic acid, or tartaric acid. These all organic acids are the example of weak acids. Now, if we talk about the percentage of ionization for these acid molecules, then this percentage of ionization can be calculated by the simple formula. If we are to calculate that what is the percentage ionization for the acid molecule, then we will put the value of total number of acid molecules which undergoes ionization. And if we divide the total number of molecules which are showing ionization with the total number of molecules taken initially, and for the percentage we will multiply this by the 100. So by this percentage calculation we can calculate that how much the percentage ionization occur for the strong acid and what will be the percentage ionization for the weak acid. Generally we say this that the strong acid shows the complete ionization, but it is not found as such. If the percentage ionization is more than 30%, then this can be taken as the example of strong acid, while weak acid comparatively they show very less percentage of ionization, and if the ionization is very less, it is less than 30%, so this can be taken as the example of weak acid. If the percentage of ionization is less than 30%, so this can be taken as the example of weak acid. Now, as we are going to see that strong acid shows higher percentage of ionization, and due to the higher percentage of ionization, they will produce a large number of ions in its aqueous solution. And since they produce a large number of ions in its aqueous solution, due to this, they conduct electricity more as compared to weak acid. Since for the conduction of electricity, we require either free electrons, or this conduction is possible due to the presence of free ions. In the aqueous solution of acid, there is no presence of free electrons, so the conduction will only dependent on the number of free ions. Strong acid produces large number of ions in its aqueous solution, so conduction will be higher in the case of strong acid. We can prove this by a simple activity also. If we take a container and fill this with a strong acid, and now for the conduction of electricity, if I immerse metallic plates in the solution, and for the conduction, if I connect this for the source of electricity, battery, to measure that how much amount of current is passing through the circuit, we will add a meter in the parallel of this circuit. Now, as the acid solution, if we use sulfuric acid, aqueous solution of sulfuric acid, now we will find that ammeter shows more deflection. Now, in place of sulfuric acid, if I add aqueous solution of acetic acid to the solution, then I take equal strength of both acids, then we will find that ammeter shows less deflection in case of acetic acid. And if the ammeter is showing less deflection, means this acetic acid is not a good conductor of electricity as compared to the sulfuric acid. Then this was the classification on the basis of strength. Now we will see the next category of this classification. The next and the last classification of acid is on the basis of concentration. On the basis of concentration, an acid can be classified in two categories. The very first category is known as concentrated acid, and the second category for this one is known as dilute acid. This classification is totally based on the relative amount of acid and water. Concentrated acids are those samples if the acid sample contains more amount of acid as compared to the amount of water. Then this kind of sample which contain higher amount of acid as compared to the amount of water is known as concentrated acid. On the other hand, if the amount of acid is lesser as compared to the amount of water, then this kind of acid is known as dilute acid. For example, if I have the 100 ml sample for the acid and it contains 70 ml of acid and 30 ml of water, so here the amount of acid is very high as compared to the amount of water. So this 100 ml solution can be termed as the sample of concentrated acid. Now if I reverse the ratio and now if I take 30 ml of acid and add this to 70 ml of water, then this sample contains higher amount of water, and this sample can be termed as the sample for dilute acid. This classification is totally based on the relative amount of acid and water, and here are the two categories, concentrated and dilute. Now if we have to convert a concentrated acid solution into a dilute solution, so since they only have the difference on the amount of water, concentrated has less amount of water and dilute solution has higher amount of water, so this concentrated sample can be converted into dilute sample by adding water. Now we are having two options. One time if I fill the container with acid and add water to this. On the other hand, if I fill the container with water and now if I add acid to this for the dilution, now these two categories are different. On one looking, we may find that these two are same. We are going to add acid and water in each other, but these two are different. Generally, if we are to convert concentrated acid into dilute solution, we prefer the second one, where we add acid to water, because this acid and water mixing is highly exothermic case. Because this acid water mixing is highly exothermic in nature. Here the amount of energy released is very high, and this amount of energy is absorbed by the water. So if higher amount of water we take and add acid, dilute and add acid for the dilution purpose, drop by drop, so the amount of energy that is going to be released in this process will absorb by water. On the other hand, if I add water to acid, so the energy that is going to be released will not absorb by water. There is no any molecule to absorb this excess amount of energy, and here due to this excess amount of energy, the acid particle will get too much energy. The acid particles will get too much energy and they may splash out, and this kind of splashing may cause accident. So we do not prefer this water addition to the acid. We always prefer acid addition to the water in case of if we are to convert a concentrated acid into dilute acid. So this was for the classification of acid. Now in the next part we will see the properties of acid.